Welcome back. In the last video, I've completely dried all the bearings with a hairdryer, and I left the hairdryer on the hub for about 20 minutes. Got the whole thing extremely hot, so I'm very confident there's no residue of any solvents in there. But nonetheless, I'm going to leave it overnight before I come to packing the bearings. And what I'm going to be doing here is just I'm just going to paint the edge of the hub, and got to be very careful because I do not want any paint to sort of slip down into the bearing itself. This bit here is fine, there's a lip, but it's the bit I'm worried about is obviously the top here. That I'll paint that on pretty dry. Don't want any sort of runs going down into the hub, into the bearing itself. I'm actually using it's a Hammerite paint, but it's smooth and it's satin, not gloss. Gloss paints are fine on very, very smooth surfaces. All of these suspension surfaces that I've painted, they're, due to their nature, are not particularly smooth. A smooth paint will only highlight, a gloss paint, will only highlight any minor imperfections in the metalwork. So for that reason, I'm using it's satin. It's not matte. It's satin. So I'll give this 2 coats. Just pop the brush down, and I'll just turn very carefully the hub. There we go. Turn that around, and I'll give it 2 coats. And you paint this particular paint directly straight onto bare metal, and it does have a rust inhibitor in the paint itself. So if there's any sort of surface rust, it will kill that and treat it. And you're better off to apply a very thin coat, let it dry, and then do another coat, and that way you get extremely smooth surfaces. And it's very, very tough, this paint. A lot of people powder coat suspension components. Powder coating's nice, but to be honest with you, it's actually very, very hard, and it chips. It does chip. I like powder coating, but this is an everyday car, and I don't want to go to the expense of powder coating. And if this paint chips, I could easily touch it up. It wouldn't be a problem. It's kind of this Hammerite isn't expensive. Most Hammerites come in a hammer finish. It's very rough, and of course that's not the look we want here. But people don't realise you can buy Hammerite in smooth finish. Very, very, very tough, very hard wearing. But I'll do 2 coats. I'll let this side dry, and then I'll turn it over. I don't want to risk turning this over and painting the other side whilst this side's still damp, and there's any chance of any paint flowing backwards into the bearing. I just don't want that. So I'll just be patient, and I'll leave it an hour or 2 before I turn it over and do the other side. But this is purely cosmetic. There's no particular reason to do this. It just looks nice. Won't make the car drive any better, but it does look nice. And I think they were painted in the first place coming from the factory, but it certainly wasn't with anything as durable as what I'm using here. It would have just been a quick flash over with what was probably a matte black spray. I don't think it was anything quite as well. If it was as durable as this, it would still be there. We've got little tiny flakes of the paint, which have during the cleaning process have largely came away. But I am looking forward to getting this damn thing reassembled. I've got the other side to go yet, but as I keep mentioning, here in the UK, we're under COVID-19 sort of restrictions and lockdown. Let me just move that hub so that if I got any, yes, I have got some on my hands. I'll just move it so it can be seen a little bit easier on the camera. There we go. We are under extreme sort of lockdown COVID measures here in the UK. and my business is closed, and I can't see it reopening, if I'm honest with you. I'm a hairdresser. I have a hair salon, and I can't see the salon being allowed to open much before Easter, sort of well into March, I beg your pardon, possibly even into April. I don't know, but I'm just using this time, this downtime that I can't work and earn, to do the necessary works on the car. I felt a bit pressured to do the work, if I'm honest with you. I've started it, and now because the work's been started, I can't drive the car. It's absolutely bloody freezing outside. There's a lot of ice. It is January here in the UK. It's not the coldest country in the world, but the UK in January is pretty bloody cold and not ideal for working outside in a car. I would much prefer to be doing it on a summer evening, maybe 7 o'clock at night, with a glass of wine in my hand, and the sun's still shining, and but I don't have that time in the summer. I have the time now, and it's winter, so I just have to grit my teeth and plough through. It isn't nice. It isn't nice working outside in the street, but it's necessary, and I just have to accept it. It is what it is. So I'll continue this off camera. As you can see, I'm just painting the very, very edge extremely lightly. The paint's barely covering. I just do not want the chance of any paint running backwards into the bearing, because obviously the bearing is down there, and so it's better to do 2 very, very light coats and have no risk of running and seepage into the bearings. So I'll do the other coat off camera, and of course I'll turn the hub over and paint the other side. I won't be quite so worried about the bearing there, but there is the bearing in the centre as we turn. Actually, it's not the bearing. When I turn the hub over, it's got the splines. So of course I don't need to be letting anything dribble into the splines either. That would be a bloody nuisance, because the splines are very, very, very finely machined. A little tiny bit of paint on those splines would stop it. It'd stop the hub going back on. There is nothing. There's no play. There's nothing. There's not even a microscopic little fraction of a gap whereby some paint could get in there. It can't. So I won't let it get in. But let me leave that. I'll leave that for about 30 minutes, and let's have a look. Just turn the camera down slightly. It's purely cosmetic. I'll leave that about 30 minutes and go over and do exactly the same. And then after about an hour or so, I'll turn the hub over and do the other side. But, it will look jolly nice, but it won't make it drive any better.